Hello guys, welcome back to the online lecture series on NEET Biology. This is Anil Mali. So in the today's lecture we are going to start the new unit from your 11th NCERT biology syllabus. So if you are new to this YouTube channel, so please subscribe and press the bell icon to get the future notification. So let's start. So the unit that we are going to talk about is the unit 3, cell structure and function. So basically this unit includes three basic chapters which are very basic of the biology. So the chapter 8, 9 and 10 are included in this unit 3. So chapter 8 is cell, this unit of life. Chapter 9 is biomolecules and chapter 10 is cell cycle and cell division. So today we are going to start the chapter 8 of this unit, cell, the unit of life. So these three chapters are very basic part of the biology syllabus. If you understand the basics of cell, its structure, its functions, and the basics of biomolecules and how the cell divides, how the cell completes its cell cycle, all these basic fundamental processes and details are included in this unit 3. So although the unit looks very basic, but it is very important in the point of view of our coming chapters. So let's start with this chapter 8. So what we are going to cover in this chapter 8, that is the cell unit of life. Basically we are going to discuss about the cell, what is cell, how we can define a cell, okay, then the basic aspects regarding cells. Then we are also going to talk about the cell theory. Then we are going to talk about the overview of a cell. Then the very important part of this chapter is the types of cell. So cells that we are going to discuss, basically prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Okay, so whenever we are going to discuss this prokaryotic cell, I'll be talking about the all details of prokaryotic cells with respect to its different components, external as well as internal components, and similarly with the eukaryotic cell. So now let's discuss what is a cell. So the question arises in our mind is why we are studying this cell, why we are giving so much importance to the cell. So in this universe, wherever the living system exists, we don't know except earth where the living system is there in the space, in the other planets. So but in general we can talk that wherever the living system is there, all living organisms in this universe are made up of cells, whether they are unicellular organisms or multicellular organism, whether an organism is like a tiny bacteria or a huge blue whale. Whatever the living organism is there, it must have a cell. Okay, without cell we can't say it is a living organism or living entity. Okay, so how do you define a cell? Basically cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of living organism. Let me take a pointer. So how would you define? Cell is the fundamental structural functional unit of all living organisms. In other ways we can define like this in a one sentence, like cell is a unit of life. Cell is a unit of life. So without a unit, a life can't be exist. Okay, so that's why cell is the very fundamental part of our body. Our all organs, our all body parts are derived from the cells, are made up of cells, different kinds of cells. If you talk about a complex organism like human beings, our body has many types of cells. All the cells differs from each other with respect to their structures, with respect to their functions. Like our kidney cells does the different function, our brain cells does the different functions. All these cells have a particular function, particular components in them. some of the components which are very common. So whenever we are going to talk the typical structure of a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, in that case I'll be talking all these components. Okay, so here I have given the picture of two scientists. So what is the role of this scientist? So in the first image you can see he is Antony von Leeuwenhoek. Okay, Antony von Leeuwenhoek, who is also called as father of microbiology. He was the first person who saw the cells in its own primitive kind of microscope. Okay, so Antony von Leeuwenhoek was professionally uh, you can say expert of glasses, okay, spectacles. So he was having a shop of spectacles, so he was having an interest of developing different type of combination of lenses in order to see the tiny microscopic things. So he could made a simple microscope, and with the help of that microscope he could saw at the first time different kind of microorganisms in the water drop, in the sewage water drop. So uh, he was the first person who saw these microorganisms under the microscopes. Hence his discoveries and his observation leads to the emergence of a new branch in the biology called as microbiology. So hence he is called as father of microbiology. And in the another image you could see the Robert Brown. This Robert Brown led the discovery of nucleus inside the cell. Okay, so his discovery is also very significant to understand the cell structure. Okay, these are the two scientists who does the basic work initially on the cell. So let's talk about the cell theory now. So what is cell theory? Generally, this cell theory is formulated by two main scientists called Sleeden and Shawn. So Sleeden and Shawn put this cell theory, and they have uh, put several postulates which are very true for this universe. Then later on one more scientist is there, which is Rudolf Virchow. So this with Rudolf Virchow explain that cells divides from the pre-existing cells, or all the new cells emerges from the pre-existing cells. One sentence was very popular in the science about this discovery, which is omnis cellula a cellula. It means all new cells exist from the pre-existing cells. So this Rudolf Virchow and Sleeden Shawn, all of them having a significant contribution to this cell theory. Okay, so their discoveries are actually the formulation of this cell theory. Their discoveries are actually the base of this cell theory. Okay, in the Sleeden and Shawn, one of them was a botanist and one of them was the zoologist. So they separately studies the plant and animal cell, and they showed that the plants and animals are made up of cells. Okay, so living organisms are made up of cells. These things, these you can say concepts came from the cell theory. So how we can divide this cell theory into a key points? So in order to understand or remember this cell theory, you have to just remember three key points. Okay, that were the these key points were the observations and discoveries of this Sleeden, Shawn and Rudolf Virchow. Okay, so what are these key points? So the first point is, sorry for the disturbance, the first point is cells are the basic unit of all living organisms. So this is again just like a definition of cell, right? So cells are the basic unit of living organism. It means all the living organisms are made up of cells. As I said earlier, whether the living organism is unicellular or multicellular, all of them are made up of cells, right? So this key point is similar to that. Cells are the basic unit of all living organisms. The second key point of this cell theory is all living organisms are composed of cells and product of the cells. So this sentence is somewhat similar to the first again. All living organisms are composed of cells and the products of cells. Means in our body we have cells, we do have cells, and our body is made up of the parts which are not having the cellular you can say structures, they are made up of the products of cells. Okay, it means our body is whole and solely made up of cell and its products, right? And the third important key point, which is based on the discovery of this Rudolf Virchow, is all cells arises from the pre-existing cells, right? All cells arises from pre-existing cells, means the cells which are forming by division, cell division. In the coming chapters we are also going to discuss about the cell division, that how do cell divide itself and produces the new ones. So in general we can say all cells are arises from the pre-existing cell. So this is about the cell theory. So in the coming videos we are going to talk about the different uh, types of cells. So let me stop here.